Good morning, everybody. Today is Monday, the 11th of January, and today we are learning to use the past perfect tense in our introductory paragraph to our first person narrative. We're going to start the lesson off with the dictation exercise. Please listen carefully for any punctuation and take care with your spellings as they may be assessed. How marvellous! I've just won a luxury yacht. How marvellous! I've just won a luxury yacht. How marvellous! I've just won a luxury yacht. If you do need a little bit more time to write this sentence and to check it over, please pause the video here now, but I am going to reveal the answer for you. So your sentence sentences should have looked like this. So how marvellous is a type of exclamation sentence because it starts with how, but it's not a question. So you should have had an exclamation mark just here. So give yourself a tick if you got that. Give yourself another tick if you had the correct spelling of marvellous. It is one of your year 5-6 words. Please give yourself another tick if you got the apostrophe in the contraction I've, I''ve. And a final tick if you got the correct spelling of yacht, Y-A-C-H-T. Yacht is also another one of your year 5-6 words. Well done. If you got all four correct, please edit your sentence before you upload your work onto Seesaw today, just to reflect on what you need to remember for next time. So this is our first paragraph of our first person narrative. You can see here that I have my steps to success. This will be available as part of your home learning pack today. Please just check the home learning document, as will the model paragraph and a selection of vocabulary that I've provided to help you, along with a simplified version of the model paragraph too. So in this paragraph, we need to basically describe how Zoe, from the first person point of view, is fleeing Norwich. She's running away. She's been running desperately around the streets, avoiding the clutches of the angry group of people. What she can hear around her. So we want to create that sense of it being a dangerous place and that she's being pursued. Her feelings as well. Is it that she's feeling anxious? Is she tired from all the running? What is it? We can use a show not tell in the blue section. Why she wanted to escape, and so we can explore a few more options for that part as we progress through the paragraph. And finally, a rhetorical question, or maybe a few if you want to use them for repetition at the very end of the paragraph, maybe revealing her concerns about the journey ahead. You'll see that with the steps to success, they look slightly different than they do usually. I have written them in first person and in past tense. That is just to be a reminder to you of how you need to write the paragraph so you don't accidentally fall into writing in third person or use any present tense verbs because the steps to success were in present tense, for example. So we're going to start off our paragraph. Now it's really important, this is the first line of the first paragraph, so we really need to engage our reader. We want to encourage them to read on, we want it to seem like an exciting story, which it is. Zoe is being pursued, she's in danger, we are thrown into the middle of this really exciting chase, and we really want to capture that when we are writing our story. So and it would be appropriate here in this red section to use past perfect. We don't want to use past perfect throughout the whole paragraph. It just would not sound right. It's only in certain sections where it would work. It works here because she was running in the past, but then she stopped at some point to do something else. So it does fit in this red section. So I'm going to start with the first person, I had, and I'm going to use I had been. So this is past perfect progressive. It's a variation of what we looked at last week, but I'm sure you're very familiar with the sentence type already. So I had been running. Run is one of those irregular verbs, so it would change if you didn't have the been. I had been running. I want to add here that element of danger to really emphasize the drama of this situation. So I'm going to emphasize this here with I had been running for my life. I want to use a full stop now. I don't want any run-on sentences today, so I have used a full stop. I have a full sentence with a subject, a verb, and it expresses the full idea. I had been running for my life. And I want to embellish this a little bit more now. Maybe you could describe what Norwich looks like. You could add in here what the weather was like. For hours, the rain had been beating down on me as I desperately searched for an escape, for example. For hours, I had been running through the deserted streets, for example. I'm going to use an alternative verb. I don't want to repeat running or use ran. I want to choose something different. So I'm going to stick with my past perfect. I had pounded. So my verb here shows that she's running quickly, she's using a lot of power in her movement, she's pounding the pavement. I had pounded. The derelict. And litter-strewn streets. I don't want you to use these same adjectives here. Think about how else you could describe those buildings. Actually, I don't think I want to use... No, I do want to use streets, actually. Sorry, I forgot to dot my I too. Oh dear. Derelict and litter-strewn streets. I don't want to see these adjectives in your paragraph today. I want you to use your own ideas. You might describe that there's graffiti, that there's been vandalised. Again, imagine what time of day it is as well. I think this opening paragraph would work really well if it was night time. So you might even want to steal some ideas from the Highwayman that we looked at last week. A ghostly moon would evoke a sense of danger because there is it's suggestive of death. Obviously no one's going to die in our narrative, but we want to make it sound a little bit spooky and mysterious. So I had pounded the derelict and litter-strewn streets, and I'm going to emphasise this here with a for what felt like hours, just to emphasize how long that's taken, and also to emphasize maybe how tired she's feeling as well. It feels like she's been doing this for so long, she's getting fed up now, she wants it to stop. So without saying that so explicitly, I'm hinting at it here for what felt like hours. And that's my red section. I'm really happy with that now. I think that should capture the reader's attention, and I've already used some of the past perfect tense. So I'm going to move away from the past perfect tense with this blue section because I'm going to be describing what I could hear and feel. I mean, you could, it might work, but I don't think I want to use it in this section. Because I've used quite simple sentences so far, I've not used any complex sentences. It would be a good idea now to think about using a fronted adverbial or a subordinating clause here to give your paragraph more variety. So you might want to use a fronted adverbial such as for all that time, all along, up until that moment. Sorry, that would be a subordinating clause. Or you might think about using a preposition, nearby, from behind, and then introduce what you could hear or even what you could see. I don't mind if you do what you could see here as a way to introduce it, just to add some more variety. Okay, so I'm going to have all that time. And what do I need to remember here? That's right, I need a comma. All that time I could hear. Try not to overdo it with the I could hear, I could feel. It can get a little bit repetitive. You could change this instead by having all that time, the sounds of the screams of the angry mob filled the air, and just switch it around a little bit. So all that time I could hear. And I want you to think of your own ideas for what you could hear. Why don't you pause the video now and imagine that you're in Zoe's world, it's late at night, she's desperate to escape, lots of people have discovered that she has this boat, which is a really precious commodity. People want it and they're angry with her because she's got one and she's going to find a way to escape and they're going to be trapped. So pause the video now, think about what sounds could be going on around her, what she could hear, how they could be alerting her that they're close behind. Okay, so thank you for thinking about that. So we could talk about if they're screaming, if they're shouting, if they're shrieking. You might want to use even an example of dialogue here, and there's one particular voice that shouts, "Come back here now," or "Don't you dare leave," or something like that. I'm not going to. I'm going to keep it quite simple. So all that time I could hear furious. I'm going to use some tell because sometimes it is appropriate to just use adjectives to say how people felt. I could hear furious voices, cry out my name, full stop. All that time I could hear furious voices cry out my name. And then I want to describe what Zoe feels. So pause the video in a second. She's been running for quite a long time. How that would feel on your body if you've done a lot of exercise, a lot of running. Also, if you're in a bit of a panic, how that would feel. She's probably feeling very frightened, very nervous. She's a young girl and she's been chased by so many people. How could we describe those feelings within Zoe? Pause the video here and have a think. Okay, thank you for thinking about that. I'm going to go with the idea that she's incredibly tired from all of the running. Try to think of a different idea, although if you did genuinely think of that one during your thinking moment, you can use it. I'm going to go with the feeling that if you've been running a lot and because you're breathing so deeply that your lungs start to burn. So I'm going to start my sentence with my lungs were burning, and I'm going to use a coordinating junction here, but I refused to stop. So we've got that she's incredibly tired, but she is determined. So we're finding out a bit more about her character here. So I'm up to my green section now, why I wanted to escape. So I did say we could think about some reasons why she may want to escape. That could be because in mine I'm going to talk about how the mob have discovered her boat and they are wanting to take it off her. So she needs to leave that night. If she doesn't, she runs the risk that they are going to steal it from her, and then she'll be trapped for a long time. She may even be in danger herself. You might want to mention that Norwich is flooding increasingly and it's becoming more dangerous. The water levels are rising. You may even think about that her supplies are running short. She's running out of food. If you have any other ideas, absolutely feel free to use them. They're just them to get you started. But obviously, of course, it's the way that you phrase these ideas as well. So I also want to use a different sentence type now. So I've used quite simple sentences here. I've used a fronted adverbial here. How about we use a relative clause? You don't have to, but think about those other sentence types that we have looked at and including them in this paragraph, even if it's not the WALT. We want to show off what we know. We are almost halfway through year 5. We've looked at so many new sentence types this year. Show off. Show us what you know. So I'm going to have a relative clause about Norwich because I want to introduce the idea that she is a bit frightened to leave. She doesn't really want to leave, but she's being forced to leave. So I'm going to start my sentence with Norwich. And because it's a relative clause, I need to have my comma after Norwich, after the noun I'm describing. Because it's a relative clause, I need to use the relative pronoun which, or you could use where, but this one I want to use which was the only place I had ever known, comma. Now look, I wonder if I've used any of my WALT in this sentence. Hopefully you can see that I've used I had, and that's because it was an event that started in the past. She only knew Norwich until a certain point later, which is what we'll be getting to. So Norwich, which was the only place I had ever known, and I need to make sure I'm describing Norwich again here. It's not enough to put a full stop because this is not a complete sentence. I need a verb. So I'm going to use past tense was no longer safe. I'm going to use another sentence now to add on why that is. I'm going to refer to, I'm going to say, so the angry people chasing me had found out about my precious boat. I'm going to use parenthesis here for the name of the boat. The boat is called Lyca. It's a capital L-Y-C-A. Last year, a few children got a bit confused and they kept referring to Lyca as a person. Lyca is a boat. You don't need to keep referring to Lyca throughout the paragraph. I'm just going to introduce the name of the boat once, Lyca, in case later on in the story I want to refer to Lyca, the reader knows who or what Lyca is, and Lyca is a boat. So Norwich, which was the only place I'd ever known, was no longer safe. The angry people chasing me had found out about my precious boat Lyca. Angry people. People sounds a little bit too vague and generic, so I think I'm going to swap people and use mob. Mob adds to this idea of people being angry. They're a crowd, they're collecting together with a shared aim. So the angry mob chasing me had found out about my precious boat Lyca. I think I need to explain here what the danger of that is, so I'm actually going to ignore this full stop. I'm going to cross that out, and I'm going to use an and I needed to leave before they could snatch her. Going to refer to the boat with the female pronoun, usually boats and ships. People do use she and her. You can use it, that's also fine. So the angry mob chasing me had found out about my precious boat, Lyca, and I needed to leave before they could snatch her. Okay, so I'm going to continue on with my purple section now. Rhetorical question about the story. So thinking here about how what sort of questions might be going through Zoe's mind. So is it that you know, she's worried if she will get to her destination. Actually pause here and have a think about what sort of rhetorical questions you could think of about the journey. Okay, well done. So it could be if she will survive the journey, if she will get to Lyca before the mob do, if the mob will chase her down, if she can actually remember how to row, what will happen if she doesn't get there in time. There are so many questions that she could be having here. So I'm going to introduce this here. So many questions spun around in my head. I'm going to focus on one, but one kept returning, or one bothered me the most, or you can emphasize one in particular. Could I get away in one piece? Question mark. So I'm going to read back through my paragraph. It looks like I've written quite a lot there, but I have got this chunk cutting in here, and there are bits that you can cut out. So I had been running for my life, so I'm happy with my use of had been. So if I was in school, I would pink that on somebody's work, absolutely. I had pounded the derelict and litter-strewn streets for what felt like hours. So I've got another use of I had, so I'm going to pink this bit here as well. All that time I could hear furious voices cry out my name. My lungs were burning, but I refused to stop. Norwich, which was the only place I had ever known, was no longer safe. The angry mob chasing me had found out, so I've got another had found out, about my precious boat Leica. Oh, had ever seen as well. Had ever known, sorry, I had ever known is another example. And I needed to leave before they could snatch her. So many questions spun around in my head, but one kept returning. Could I get away in one piece? I really strongly recommend that you do read your paragraph back to yourself once you have written it. It is much easier to sense the flow of your writing, whether you need a more variation in your sentences and structures, if you've got any missing words. It's really powerful as well if you notice if your expression changes. For example, Norwich, which was the only place I had ever known, was no longer safe. And the way my voice changes indicates that you need commas. Sometimes that can be a really reliable way of finding out if you've missed any punctuation. Okay, I'm going to show you your vocabulary and your model paragraph that you can download or have displayed on your screen in just one moment. Okay, and here you can see this is the support sheet which will be available for you to use when you come to write your paragraph. We have a longer version of the text which is the same as the one that I wrote up with you before, and there is also a shorter example here in case you just need to focus on the basics. This will be on the second page of your PDF document. You can see here that there is a list of vocabulary that can support you. This would be what would be displayed in the classroom in normal circumstances, so please, if you want to take a look over this, feel free. It would be really lovely to see your own ideas included in this paragraph, so please try your very best to innovate and move away from the model when you can, using your own ideas in your own language. Once you have written your paragraph, as I said earlier, I would very strongly recommend that you do read it out to yourself before you submit it onto Seesaw. This avoids any mistakes that can easily be rectified, so your teacher can really focus in on other areas that you can develop instead. You may even want to read your work aloud and record it, and that would be really lovely for your teacher to hear you reading your work. We might even ask to hear some in one of your briefing sessions as well, so be prepared to read your work to your classmates, as I feel that that would be particularly helpful in sharing ideas as well. Okay, so best of luck with this one, everybody. I'm absolutely confident that we'll produce some amazing writing, and I'm really looking forward to seeing all of the excellent work that you upload onto Seesaw. Take care, and I'll join you again tomorrow with our second paragraph. Bye-bye.